What's your overview of how strong the line can be this year?
Well, I think the addition of Hub is huge. I think he's been a great addition to the room, just as a guy and as a player coming from Todd Haley's scheme. He's been, you know, pretty big in kind of translating different things to us and how they ran it in Pittsburgh. So we kind of have that communicated down to us on a player-to-player basis. And then having, you know, I think the inside three by the end of the year had really gelled together really well, and having another offseason of working together. And then Sean's been playing really well out on the outside so far, taking the one reps. Obviously, it's still early, and I think that'll get sorted out as time goes on. But so far, so good. I think, you know, day one of pads, I think we're trying to still figure out our identity, what we're best at, and that'll come as, you know, now that the pads are on, now we can run more plays and kind of see what we're best at. We'll figure that out in the next couple, you know, practices.
When you talk about showing the three interior guys, how long does something like that really take to get to a high level?
I mean, it takes a little bit. I mean, the communication's pretty easy because we meet so much and talk so much about how we're blocking things, but body positioning and how we block certain looks on a more physical level is different. Obviously, last year, Joel was coming back from an injury and then got a little banged up late in training camp, so we didn't have really many reps together before the start of the season. So the first couple games, we were still getting used to each other, and then by the end of the season, I think we really understood how each other's body works and how we move, and you know, where we need a little more help on certain blocks and where we can kind of let someone go one-on-one. So that just comes with time. So I think you know, throughout last year, we got to a point where we're really comfortable with each other, and now just having an extra off season together is only going to make it work better.
You played every snap, but I remember you being on the injury report once or twice. Did you have to grind through a part of that season to play all those snaps?
Everybody does. I mean, everybody gets banged up. That's just part of the game. That's a guarantee every year. I mean, like we said when we put the pads on yesterday, this will be the best we feel until next year. So that's just part of the game, and you know, everybody's going to have something. If you feel good, you probably didn't do too much that week. So that's just part of it. I mean, it's part of finding your routine and knowing what you need, you know, physically to get back and get ready to play the next game. And that's why you see guys get upset a little bit about those Thursday games, because it just shortens that time of rest and recovery, and you know, they know how much time they need to get their bodies right for the next Sunday game. So when you take 3 days away, that obviously makes things a little more difficult. So everybody deals with it and finds what's best for them on how they need to get ready to play the next week.
On the continuity factor that you mentioned, the second year with the group, but you personally, in your own career, are going from you know, whatever, choppy roles and maybe a couple of injuries mixed in, to now getting into some sort of rhythm as a starter for some years now,
Right.
As you would hope it. But how does that fit into your mind in terms of you don't even really know what kind of long-term starter you can be?
Yeah, I think anytime you can play one position for an extended period of time, you just get more comfortable in the movements and in different things of playing that one position. I think when you move around and, you know, go from left guard to right tackle to left tackle to center, all of a sudden the body has been flipped back and forth, and you kind of get a little discombobulated at times. But I think when you can really lock in on one position and play consistently, you kind of pick up the little nuances of each position that really take you from being a decent player to a very good player. So I think the more time you get to just work at one position, the better as a player you'll become.
JC,
the Green Bay colors. It was. I don't know. I'm not sure if it was the guys upstairs may have just, you know, brought them in the U-Haul with them, but I'm not sure. That you know, it made me laugh when I looked out from the training room and saw them when they first put them up.
Did you come in bigger, stronger this year, and what was your thinking on doing that?
Yeah, I came in about 10 pounds heavier, 10 pounds bigger. I think every year at the end of the season, you kind of look in the mirror and watch the film again and kind of figure out what you need to change and you know, change up. I think Joe did that a lot. I think he would play with his weight a little bit every year and just see what he needed. And I think, you know, the defenses we play within the division, I think having 10 more pounds would be beneficial. And I worked with Katie, our nutritionist here, who does a great job, and I stayed here most of the off season and worked with her, and she did a great job of just giving me a meal plan of what I should eat, when I should eat it, what it should consist of. So she was a huge asset this year and a big help getting me to where I need to be and making sure I'm putting on good weight so I can still be as agile as I want, but also just have that extra weight to help me out.
Why do you say that in the division?
We play, big nose tackles, strong nose tackles, extra 10 pounds of them pushing against you is only going to, make their job harder and make your job easier.
So what number are you at, and was it difficult to put on those 10 pounds?
I'm one of the guys who definitely have to eat and be diligent about what I'm eating and when I'm eating it to make sure I put the weight on. So I'm right a little bit above 300 now, and that's probably where I'll stay the entire year. But again, that's just what I felt would be best. Talking to guys upstairs, talking to other guys in the offensive line room of what we talk about what we think each other should improve or change and things like that. So that was just what we decided.
So you just had to make yourself eat more?
Yeah, and that's why Katie's so good, because she'll lay out what macros you should be eating, protein, fats, carbohydrates, and when you should stack it next to a workout, what you should be eating after a workout, before a workout, late at night, and kind of laying all that out so you get the most of everything you're eating.
How many starting linemen you think are still left under 300 now that you crossed over?
On our team,
Well, I know Hubbard's one of them.
yeah, well, very few. This is one of the few times in my career I'm not the lightest lineman in the room, so it's new territory for me. But there's always a handful. I think center is usually one of the lighter positions. But as long as you can do your job, I think you're fine at whatever weight you can do your job at. And I think this will only be helpful for me, so I'll give it a try this year, and hopefully it works out well.
Do you have a specific calorie count you have to hit to stay where you want to be?
No, I mean, it's tough when you're eating meals and you can't 100% control what you're eating because it's tough to count calories. But I try to eat the same times every day and the same quantity of food every day, and then you just watch the scale, and we've got our DEXA machine that measures body fat percentage. So as long as those numbers are staying consistent, what you're doing is working.
And that's not affected your agility? Or
No,
anything like that?
nope, not at all. So that's something I was very careful with because I think that's one of my best qualities. So I don't want to do something that throws that off. So I think I've stayed the same in any other measurement, explosiveness, and everything like that.
In the context of maybe an observation along the lines of you guys can have an offensive line that would be a playoff style line.
Yeah.
How would you characterize it? Are you guys good enough to be in that realm?
I definitely think so. I think across the board we have the talent this year in almost every position room to go and compete and win football games, to win a lot of football games. And that's all something we have to prove, and we can talk about it and say that's where we want to be and that's where we think we're going to be, but it doesn't matter until we go out there and win football games here. No one's going to take anything we really say seriously until we go out there and prove it. So I think everybody, man to man in this building knows what we're capable of, and now it's really what we're going to do to show it and go out there and win.
In terms of the nuts and bolts of your offensive line specifically, what are the elements that go into it that make you know that you guys at least have a chance to be good across those five positions?
Well, I mean, I think we've got, if we're talking specifically playoff football, you need to be able to run the ball.
Not playoffs, just how good you can be.
Well, we got
why can you guys be a
you
good
got
offensive
Joe
line?
Bitonio, who alternate for the Pro Bowl last year. Kevin Zeitler, who's always in that conversation. We've got Chris Hubbard, who's coming in, who's obviously not been a full-time starter, but has shown what he's capable of in his spot starts. And we've really gelled as a team. I think the communication and the football IQ of our line, I think, is very high. Understanding our assignments and blitzes and how to pick them up, and how to declare every run and pass. I think that's an important part where if you can take that off as a line, the quarterback's job, where you can take care of that yourself, I think that makes his job easier behind you. So I think our football IQ is another thing that really sets us apart from other lines.
You talked about Hubbard a little bit, and obviously you're going to say good things about your teammate, but can you explain a little more why you think he's at that point where he can be that kind of right tackle on a line that could be this good, just from what you've seen?
Well, I think consistently, he's always in the right position and doing the right thing. And I think that's the most important part about offensive line play is consistency. You can play, for us, you have 69 really good plays and one bad play, and you give up a sack, you had a terrible game. That's just kind of how our offensive line play works. So if you have a guy who's going to always be in the right position and always be going to the right guy, that's 90% of the battle, that is. So he's already a smart guy, fundamentally sound. That's the things you need to work on first, and he's got that settled already.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sean Coleman, I know you're concentrating on your own position, but can you tell us what you've seen, how you've seen him progress, maybe from OTAs to now when you watch him on film or whatever?
Yeah, again, I'd say consistency. I think that's something he's gotten better at. I think that was anybody who understood what was going to happen moving from right tackle to left tackle. I understand that he played left tackle in college, but after playing 2 years of right tackle, it takes him getting used to. So I think as OTAs went on, you saw the consistency of his set and his assignment get moving in the right direction, and I think he put the time in this offseason break, this little 6-week break, to keep that working in the right direction. And I think even now, you watch him and you see that his sets are more on point, his assignments are more on point, everything's just more consistent with how he's playing.
When we talked to the coaches, and even Jimmy Haslam yesterday said, we got to figure out left tackle. So is it unsettling as a line group, especially, I don't know if it's fair or not, but coming off having Joe Thomas there for 10 plus years, to not know what's going to happen at such a key spot across the line?
No, I think there's really no way for you to make that decision already. So we knew this was going to be, up in the air to say it that way. But Sean's doing everything we need him to right now. Austin's been playing well. The pads just got put on yesterday, so you weren't going to be able to make any real determination in shorts. Now the pads are on. We'll see guys compete and go against rushers that are actually going full speed. And this is where we'll figure out who's the best player at that position. And whenever there's a competition, the best player is going to rise to the surface, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the best 5 players to play.
Just a couple more.
JC, last year in camp there were 3 starting quarterbacks. If there's only one this year, how does that make your job easier?
It's always helpful. I mean, you like creating a rapport with each guy. Obviously, we'll take snaps with Baker and we'll take snaps with Drew. But the more snaps you can take with one guy, the more understanding of the way he looks at protections and the way he's going to call plays is the better for you. So anytime you can kind of get that consistency with one guy, it's always going to be helpful.
What's your feeling on, chatter that the Browns will be the surprise team in the league, and even like one of your teammates says the Browns will make the playoffs?
Again, like I said, I think to a man, everybody in that building, player, staff, the upstairs people, we all know what we're capable of, and we all feel that. But again, it's not going to matter until we go out and do it. And we can talk about it and say it's going to work. But everybody's going to say that at this point of the year. Everybody's going to say they're Super Bowl contenders and they're playoff contenders and they're going to be better. It's going to be out there going out week 1 and winning football games. So it really doesn't matter what we say at this point. It's going to matter about preparation and then going out there and doing it.